Welcome to the Zono Sports Show, where you know Zonos. Now, got a few things to cover today for today's show. Episode 41 of Zonos. We're getting real close to 50. Keep watching for sure. Now, get out your wet wipes and pacifiers. This weekend, one diaper dandy got too nasty on TV. Mr. Malik Monk from Kentucky. Now, if I don't recall, that's the name that I told you about a few weeks ago prior to this season starting. His game, he is stroking that, okay? Whatever pool stick he's using, give me that chalk because I want to rub mine with it, okay? Now, dude dropped 47 points, almost 30 at the halftime mark, 18 for 28. So that means this was not a sloppy 47 points. He was actually hitting shots. So John Calipari, what I've seen with that coach is he really likes to let these players just go out and be them. Go out and be athletic. Be the ESPN 100 recruit that he recruited. So when you have guys like that, of course you're going to win games. But this game against North Carolina where they won 103-100, Kentucky, the Cats did. Now, this was championship slugfest. That's what a title game is supposed to look like. March basketball should emulate what we saw Saturday with those two teams. With Mr. Monk and Justin Jackson, he had 34 on 10 for 17 shooting. However, that was overshadowed because you had somebody else play much better. And Kentucky, of course, came out with the last-second win on the three-pointer. I really like this young Kentucky team. De'Aaron Fox, great player. However, I knew that Malik Monk was the glue that would put together a championship-style house, and they are doing it there in Lexington. Also, a battle in Indiana, the Crossroads Classic. Butler beats Indiana 83-78, and Purdue also beat Notre Dame, and Mr. Farrell's brother surprised him after the game. Point guard for Notre Dame surprised him after the game, returned from Iraq. That was nice to see. UCLA, they beat Ohio State 86-73 at that event that they had there in Vegas. Now, Lonzo Ball and TJ Leaf, they taste good on any California pizza, I would bet. Now, these guys are just freshmen, but they lead this team in many statistical categories. And there's two more Ball brothers that are just as good who have already committed to UCLA. Lonzo Ball, I like the fact that he can have the ball on the string. He reminds me of an old school vintage Rondo when he was with the Celtics, when Rondo really mattered, because right now Rondo, I don't know if he matters as much in the NBA, but this guy Lonzo Ball, he shows me that he's got large hands and control the floor, can get the ball up and down, can shoot the three ball, which Rondo does not really have. Rondo's never really had a big shot. What helps this guy out, Mr. Ball, is that he can play off the perimeter as well as assist the ball and dish it out. So I think he'll be a great point guard. Reminds me a little bit of Austin Rivers as a freshman. So I really think that Steve Alford, he's been living right. He's got good players. He's got people in Westwood that can shoot the ball, pass the ball, make plays on offense, and play defense as well. So UCLA, I really like their progress. However, the question still remains, Thomas Wells, can you give this team a bona fide big three? Can you do that? If Welsh can develop, then I think that this UCLA team can go the distance as far as the tournament talk goes and things like that nature. Now, also, college football statements that were made this past weekend and this past week. Who's really going number one in the draft? We don't even know at this point. We don't know who's really a bum, and we don't know who we didn't know about. So I look at these decisions that were made by several players, and most notably Leonard almost Bo Fournette, because he got those comparisons last year, but didn't come and give us that Bo-type performance that we would hope for this year. Him and Christian McCaffrey both sitting out their bowl games. Now, I understand they both suffered injuries this year, so I understand the reason why they're doing it. Leonard Fournette won't play against Louisville. McCaffrey won't play against UNC in the Sun Bowl. Now, Leonard Fournette, you had your spot taken by Darius Geis, so does it really matter? Are you hurting LSU that much by not playing? I wouldn't think so, so I understand the decision. And Christian McCaffrey led the nation in all-purpose yards again, so are we really concerned with these two guys sitting out, considering they have big NFL futures? Some people may say yes, some people may say no. I think it's okay to play in a bowl game. For instance, Myles Garrett from Texas A&M just guaranteed himself a top 5 pick. Why? Because he came out and said he'll be playing in the bowl game versus Kansas State with his teammates. So I think I can see both sides of this particular argument. However, Myles Garrett said, I'm going to get that check no matter what. I'll be out here on this field. So Texas A&M looks like you have a baller, and also NFL scouts, they look for people who are all about team, because at the end of the day, you want team players. Not to say that Leonard Fournette and Christian McCaffrey are not team players, but Myles Garrett, I think, is showing a lot of character by deciding, you know what, I've been here, I've gone to school with these guys, I've sweat with these guys, I will be on this field with my teammates. So shout out to Myles Garrett. I think he's really guaranteed himself a top spot for sure, as long as he performs well in the combine, for sure. He was already a top 10 pick, but as long as he plays and does well, he could definitely get a top 5 pick, just because that character factor is big when you go to the next level. Also, Oklahoma. Be glad it didn't happen sooner. Recently, video was released by lawyers from the 2014 incident where Joe Mixon punches a woman in the bar, breaks her jaw. Not very nice, Mr. Mixon. Now, let's be honest. She did kind of haymaker first. I wouldn't really say haymaker, but pushed on him and prodded him a little bit. However, Mr. Mixon, come on, Joe. You're a running back for a top 10 school, and they're a Power 5 team, Oklahoma Sooners. You got to use better judgment. You can't just cold cock a lady in a bar just because she pushes you around a little bit. You play for Oklahoma. There's a spotlight on you. You're a big-time highlighted player on that team at that university in college football, so you can't respond that way. Now, I will say that Oklahoma did do justice, considering that they suspended Mr. Mixon 1 year from the program. So I think that was due punishment. That was just punishment for his actions. However, my man's got to be smarter. You can't just be throwing Mayweather haymakers everywhere at women just because they run their mouth a little bit at you. Be smarter than that, okay? And ladies, let's also, let's not provoke these men to talk and say all types of things, because you don't want to put yourself in danger either. Now, domestic violence is not something great. People's tempers flare up and things happen, but to avoid these situations, men walk away and ladies walk away. Plain, simple, cut, dry. But it doesn't have to be Halloween to get skeletons brought out of the closet, okay, Mr. Mixon? I think this is a valuable lesson for him, will help him in life, because he's had to face that public perception now that he beats up women because of the fact that he was caught on camera striking this lady and hurting her and injuring her pretty badly. So hope she's okay for sure. Now, moving right along, Minnesota players, there's nothing golden about being a Gopher right now if you're in that state. The reason I say that, the school suspended 10 players for an alleged gang rape, and parents, they're left in the dark. They didn't know anything from the university. They just knew their kids were suspended. So Antoine Winfield, NFL veteran whose son plays for this Minnesota team, actually came out and said that there was no reason for the parents not to know anything, and the players actually wanted to boycott this game because of lack of due process. Now, they were scheduled to play Washington State. However, the backup to play Washington State would have been Northern Illinois. I found this interesting because I've never seen anything like this. The school, they decided to go ahead and still have the players suspended. However, the team will play now. But what happened? Were scholarships threatened? Did the school lighten up on this issue and say that we need to take a closer look at this before we start holding people out of games because these are amateurs? What caused these players to now come out and say, we'll go ahead and play the bowl game? Because Northern Illinois, they were the replacement. However, schools get a lot of money from these bowl games, so why sacrifice that check for hearsay? And listening to the police reports where this young lady's talking about all the things that she couldn't remember, but the vivid details that she could remember, however, she was supposedly too intoxicated to make decisions. It's a little fishy. They'll have to get more details, but just an interesting story in Minnesota. Really anxious to see what happens with this because this is far from over, regardless whether this team plays in the game or not. In the NFL, Patriots, they beat the Broncos on Sunday, 16-3. Now, you hold Tom Brady to 16 points as a defense, you feel pretty good about yourself. But if your offense only scores 3, of course, you're not going to win. You're not going to get the dub. Now, the only person that felt good was John Elway because Brock Bumweiler, he stunk it up in Houston, lost his spot to Tom Savage. So he's the smartest man in America as of Sunday afternoon. Now, other news, Russell Okung and Aqib Talib barking like dogs across the locker room, O-line versus DBs, talking about who's not doing what and why they're not scoring. But they've got to understand, they said it's all passion, but you guys have to stick together, Denver, because yes, you put yourself in a hole, but you can win games and get a little bit of help along the way. Let's not jump on each other. This pony needs a new sheriff. They lost Peyton Manning. They've got to go out and get a quarterback. The Trevor Siemian experience did not work, so they'll have to go out and get someone who can come into that offense, maybe a Tony Romo, and understand how to play the position and make an impact right away. And Von Miller, take that leadership to another level. The dancing and sacks and stuff, that's cool. The Madden commercials, gravy. But you got to do a little more vocally, I think, Von Miller, because they'll listen to you. You're a baller. So, Von Miller, speak up, be a leader, do your thug thizzle, and talk to that team. And NBA hoops-wise, now, I've got to talk about these hot Rockets. I just want to rock with you all night long. The Rockets are doing their thug thizzle. Okay, 110 straight. So, obviously, that tells me that this team is hot. Houston, we do have a problem with the rest of the NBA because they are definitely showing that they are an elite team more so than the Warriors as well as the Spurs. They play the Spurs tonight on a Tuesday night. James Harden finally enjoys and remembers he has teammates. He passes the ball. Everybody's involved. People like playing for this team. Mike D'Antoni, I think, he's loosened everyone up because he doesn't care who shoots the ball. They take a lot of threes. This is the old Sun swag by D'Antoni. The run and gun Steve Nash days where they shoot threes with Barbosa and Rajah Bell and those guys. I really like Trevor Ariza and Sam Decker. They're the salt to this soup. Defense and offense, they play both, and they're both big guys. So it gives them a lot of stretchability in the 3 and 4 spots. So stay tuned to these Rockets, okay, because I don't see them stopping. I think they'll remain hot. I think this is a Western Conference Finals team, and they can definitely get that 1 or 2 spot and get home floor advantage and have an opportunity to potentially contend for a championship this year. Now, next show, stay tuned to Zono Sports because we'll have to talk about some more juice coming soon. Christmas is really close, and there are a lot of presents that have to be given out, including trophies this New Year's. So make sure you pay attention because Zono's Sports, where you know Zonos.